All right. Another great episode. We've almost, again, I don't know when our year comes up, but we've been doing this for almost a year straight. We've got another great guest with us today. This is the Vital Wire. All right, with us today is Tammy Gundaker.
Yay.
We couldn't get KG's beautiful face on. I think he's strategically avoiding us.
Definitely avoiding you. Definitely avoiding you.
But
Yeah.
Tammy Gundaker is with us today. We have grown a great relationship with her and KG and the boys, but we just want to introduce people in the community to who's really here. And I told you this just a minute ago. And so being that there is a tie, for those of you wondering with, yes, Gundaker Realty, Colwell Baker Gundaker, there is a tie here. We might get into that. But really, we just wanted to have you on because of what you do with something that we're very passionate about. And we can immediately take this into the race world. But here's what I'm going to say, Tammy. What I have learned about you guys and what was so cool and what I have been drawn to is what your overall goal and mission is and what you guys stand for and what you do for people. You guys are so great as people person. And you see that in Trevor. You see that in Gordy. You see that in KG. And I just wanted to lead with that because as I started racing just 4 years ago, I've always been around racing. I grew up racing. My dad raced the Winston West Series and with Ron Hornaday and some of those guys. And so I finally started racing 4 years ago. I was blessed to already have inherited some of my parts and things, so it was pretty easy to get going. And within the first 3 weeks, KG peeks his head in my car, and I hadn't met him before, and he goes, "What the hell are you doing? You are so damn fast. Stop sawing on the wheel." But at that point in time, we stood there and talked for 10 minutes, and he was giving me tips and pointers, and it's just been very cool of how open he was just right off the bat. And then meeting you and meeting Gordy and Trevor, and now with the relationship we have, I think there's a lot of people that underestimate what you guys are really about. And I am excited to do this today because I think we're going to draw some of that out because there's more than just we run a racetrack. There's more than just we do real estate. There's more than just there's so much good that you guys do. So I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to have you.
Yes.
So with that, let's start with Tammy and give us where you grew, where did you grow up? How did you end up here? How did you end up in St. Charles?
Crazy story. So originally from Michigan, and believe it or not, my mom and dad both raced late models.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah, and my mom, so grew up at Thunderbird Speedway in Muskegon, Michigan. Went to the dirt track, the asphalt tracks. Mom raced late models, so did dad. And dad quit because my mom honestly was so good she would beat him.
Oh my God.
And he finally had, and they had at that time there was 4 of us. She did powder puff and then went to late models, and then finally she flipped real bad one time, and my dad said, "No, that's enough." So and so I mean I've been at dirt track since born. I mean actually, so and then my senior year in high school, which is a crazy story, had graduated ahead of time. Was going with the promoters of the racetrack I grew up at.
This was 1994, her senior year of high school.
1983. Yeah, I just gave it away. So, 83, just crazy. Went to Florida with these promoters, Rod and Joanne Jonason, and unfortunately they've passed away now. They owned the racetrack that my mom and dad raced, and then mom and dad worked there. Went with them to the Daytona 500. Was going to be gone a month, and then we was going to go. They had a home in the Keys. We were going to the promoter's workshop, which is this is crazy, that Kevin and I attend to this day.
Oh.
Wow.
And then pulled in the Daytona 500 parking lot. Now I at that time didn't know anything about Volusia, anything about Kevin, who he was.
Yeah.
So here I am at 18. These big old blonde pigtails. You see this picture. Funny.
Typical 1983.
Yeah. And it's just our motorhome, a few other ones. Down, 50 yards is KG back then in our motorhomes, open trailers.
Yep.
Is Kevin in his red Larry Shaw car. Now you gotta remember, I knew all about racing. I knew shock springs, gears. I knew all that. So I walked down open trailer to look at his car. I'm actually looking underneath it, which, these days is a no-no. And who comes out but Robert, who is now been with us for 40 years. Honestly, 40 years. Kevin and I were together first. And he torques me. He's like, hey, what are you doing looking under my car? And I was like, hey, who are you? And well, then out walks Kevin. And if you've all seen photo of Kevin years ago, he looked like the guy from the Mod Squad. I mean, his hair, which I found out later was natural, was like this. Full beard. I'm 18, he's 26. And I'm like, who are you? Anyways, but to this day, and I'm going to praise on him, did not know at that time who Kevin was in racing. Yeah. So so we say hi, I go back to my motorhome. About a half hour later, this is if y'all know Kevin now, he comes over with a plate of hot dogs. And he goes, hey, would you like a hot dog? Well, now I know that was his way of hitting on me. Yeah. Sure, I'll have a hot dog. All right, so we visit. He leaves. Well, he's going to Volusia. Mm-hmm. This is Sunday. Wednesday, pouring rain. He comes, now picture this. Here's my date. I thought, I found out later. Drives up in his motorhome. This big old motorhome, right? And he pulls up in front of our, camper, and he gets out and he goes, hey, if we get rained out tonight, would you want to go to town and just hang out tonight? I'm like, okay. Well, and people know this about me. I was not one to date in high school. I did date this one guy just for a little bit, but I was very into sports, and men was just not my thing. Mm-hmm. So, no, and don't even say it. I'm not. I'm just saying it. I meant in that side of the sequence. So don't even go there with me. Anyway, so I, Wednesday, but if y'all know KG now, when KG says I'll be there at 7, that's 9.
Yeah.
Right? So 7 o'clock rolls around, no KG, little bar down the street. So the promoters, us, we all walk down the street. 9 o'clock, no lie, guys. 2 hours later, here it comes. Cowboy boot, cowboy hat, big old motorhome, pick me up at the bar. Okay, so we go out that night. Well, back then there was Jeff Purvis, Charlie Schwartz, Billy Moyer, all these drivers that I didn't know who they were. Mm-hmm. Donnie Moran, they were all there. We went to the bar, we all hung out together. So that night, we're coming back, and he says to me, hey, I'm racing Volusia. Would you want to come watch? And to this day, I have no clue why I said yes, because I don't even know this man. Plus, he looked like Charles Manson. So I was I'm like, okay. So we drive into the racetrack from Volusia, about an hour away. And this still to this day breaks my heart. We're driving in, and it's 5 a.m. It's cold, right? It's freezing. And here sits this crew by a bonfire with lawn chairs. And I go, oh my God, they're freezing. I go, who would leave their crew out at 5 a.m. with nowhere to sleep? And we drive up, and it's his crew. So it's all of them.
Poor Robert.
Yeah, poor Robert. So to this day, Robert's joke is, yeah, we're sitting back eating bologna, and you're out there eating steak with KG. So we did eat steak that night. But, so now, guys, honestly, 40 years later to this day, so I still tear up a little. I can't tear up. See, you always do this to me. We were together the whole time. I went back and graduated high school. The 7th, we left on the 8th. So 40 years, here we are.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
I mean, who would ever think?
I love that so much. That
It
story
is a
makes me
honest to
so
God true
happy.
story. So, and we still have Robert 40 years later. But Gordy, he'll probably kill me for telling this story. When Gordy was 15, I kept bugging Robert to come and help because Gordy knew nothing about racing. He really did. I mean, he knew, but not what we wanted to do with the crate. So finally, I convinced Robert to come over to the shop and say, and help Gordy. So I go up to the shop and I said, and Gordy kind of knew this, that he was going to meet this guy named Robert. And so at that time, oh God, I can't think how old Robert was. Well, Robert's been with us now, with Gordy and Trevor, 7-8 years. So Gordy says, Mom, I don't even know this guy, Robert. So what are you doing? And I go, listen, you need somebody to help you. Well, I'm not even going to talk. I'm not doing this. I'm like, okay. So Robert shows up, goes up the shop. True story. 2 hours later, Gordy comes down. Robert is the coolest guy in the world. This is like the mom, so cool. I'm like, no shit. You know, I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but I did. I was like, no shit.
Yeah.
So he is.
Mama knows, child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So, yeah. So
So how did you? So then, what took you from Muskegon to St. Charles?
oh, that's funny. So I graduated June 7th. Kevin had to go back to RHS. That was his motor builder at the time in Memphis. And he said, "Hey, I've got to go to Scooters, who own RHS, and change this motor. And then I'm racing for Larry Shaw in Arkansas. And do you want to go?" So I'm like, "Yeah." So we get there, change the motor. So I moved with him to Arkansas, and then in September, we actually moved back to St. Louis because he wanted to come back. And by that time, he was doing some stuff with his dad. He didn't have his license, but he was, him and his dad were doing some racing and doing stuff. So
Yeah.
I just jumped ship and moved to St. Louis. Didn't know a soul. Didn't know anybody.
It's hard for you to meet people.
It was back then. I knew nobody, but I knew I loved racing, and that's what his passion was. So and that was mine.
He was all right.
And
he was
all right.
He was all right.
It was, yeah. But the fun part about it back then was I could do everything on a race car because I grew up that way. So I could change tires and shocks and springs and fuel, and I did it for years. Would help in motors. And do all that. So it was my passion. I loved it. And
there was a picture last year, and like you said, it's not uncommon for you to do that. Like you're literally, because your boys also like to wait till the last minute to get on the track. And there's Tammy with impact gun putting right front tire on either Gordy or Trevor's car. But also I'm at Brownstown this year at the beginning, and Erika goes, "Hey, look." And here's Tammy with like a wheel cover or something. She's like, putting wheel covers on your car. I was like, well, that's part of what I don't think people, I don't even know if people who know you here now know that background of like, you're not just Tammy the promoter, like this was your lifestyle. Like you can, it's like, "Hey Tammy, can you put a 583 in the car right now?" She popped the cover off, put the gears in, and like you could go and trust that would happen.
Changing gears, I did get burnt one time with that. I didn't get all that, but yeah, and I miss that. With promoting, and the boys got crews now, and Kev was racing. Of course, Trevor's not to this day, still got to see Kevin race, which I'm still trying to get him in a car, at least to run one time against the boys, and I laugh and tell the boys, we have a bet that when KG smokes them both, and he will, that if Dad wins, they each owe me $1,000, but if whoever beats Dad, I give them $1,000. So,
oh my gosh!
But the man can wheel a car to this day. So Gary Bentley was at the track one night. It was about 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And Mod Mania, and Gary was struggling with his car a little bit. And this is literally 2 a.m. Lights are out. I think it was Friday night. Mod Mania.
God, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe Beat by Mash. No, I don't know which one.
It's probably not me.
But he's in flip flops. Lights are out on the track. And I hear this car fire up, and I'm like, first of all, I'm like, who the hell's on the racetrack?
Here we go.
I'm ready to,
beat some ass. Yes.
You can say it. Beat some
and
ass.
call Kevin and go, "Kevin, who's on the car? Who's on the track?" Well, I go out and I see the car pulling out, and I see everybody there but Kevin, and I'm like, don't even tell me. Yep, flip flops. He did have a helmet on and safety because he's big about safety, but out there on the track making laps with no lights.
Oh my god!
And
Big about safety, folks.
Yeah, but yeah. And I'm like, don't video because my insurance guy's gonna kill me. But ripping. Yeah. And they found out the problem, and and he came in, of course. But I'm used to him doing stuff like that. So I'm used to him just naturally helping people. Like this story you told me. It's funny because I was telling him, Erika, the other night. I said all I kept hearing, and I didn't know either one of you yet. All I kept hearing was, Doc this, Doc that. And I was like, Doc is so fast. If he would just slow down and do this, and this. His car's fast. He's a good driver, And finally, about the 5th or 6th time, we're in the office like 1, 2 in the morning, and he's torqued out about you. No, he's like pissed. And I'm like, he doesn't realize how good he's fast. Finally, I go, Kevin, who in the heck is Doc? And he goes, Doc, be my driver, Doc, the purple. And then I finally realized I was. But yeah, I totally compliment you. And we all know KG. He has a heart of gold. He would help anybody, but he's really not one to take people under his wing. Yeah. And you, for some reason, just,
he loves you.
Yeah.
I love it.
He sees potential, though. That's what it is. And he sees people that really work at it. That something that, and I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad right now. I know I am. But what makes him aggravated most of all is these drivers that show up with their helmet bags, don't know anything about their car, can't drive it from their seat is what he calls it. You got to be able to feel your car. So today he thinks we've gotten out of the grassroots of you need to work on your stuff. Yeah. So looking at you and owning your own company and trying to start, and there's times you would show up with just you. Yeah. We're still trying to get you to wrench. You need to change a tire. Have you changed a tire?
No, I haven't.
She's bled brakes.
She's not just a beautiful face. She's a workaholic right here. No, but we still got it. And I love when I see so many women involved in racing now, drivers' wives. That Rhonda Hoffman one night, I swear to God, and we were at the Summer Nationals a long time ago at Macon, and Nick pulled in 5-6 years ago. Rhonda's on the right rear change, and I got the photo. Yeah. Brent Larson's wife, Melody. The girl can wrench. So they're not a wench. They can wrench. Yeah. That's what I got.
The whole reason was the passion that I've always had behind racing, and I think we innately share this commonality. It's in our blood. It's in our nature. It's what we know. It's what we've done. Mm-hmm. And I told Erika, I was like, it's going to happen, and she's always been supportive of that. I tell everybody to this day, and I've said it on the podcast before, if we could race 8 days a week, she would. Yeah. But the reason I started racing, and so much for you guys, is in the misconception too that can happen. But, and I know this happens, I'm just going to put it out there boldly. But these even your boys, and you said this the other night, they work for what they get to do. Yeah. There's nothing handed to you. When I told Erika, I was like, there's so much more behind why I want to race. I love it. Learning how to build motors, learning. And who better to learn from with somebody like KG? I've asked for so much help unapologetically and always tried to return the favor. And how can I show up for you? But I've asked for help from a lot of people, and I've gained a lot of help from a lot of people. But I told Erika, the reason behind a lot of this too is because the boys at that time, we didn't have Cammy yet. Now Cammy's seeing it too, is it's like when Dad goes out at night to work on the race car, he's doing something he loves. He's working hard at it. And when something goes bad on the track, guess who's fixing it? Dad. Those boys know how to read a tape measure. They know where bolts go. They know what wrenches are. They know how to do hard work. These boys are going to know how, and now Cammy, she's probably going to be the wheel woman, much like your mom. She was banging on the door last night because she knew I have to sneak out into the shop to Dada. But it's like what it does.
Because she wants to be out there.
She wanted to be in the car.
Yeah. Oh. But what it does for our families and what it teaches you ultimately of the hard work and what you want to get out of it is what you have to put in it. And that if you think you know everything, you're never going to learn anything. Yeah. And trying to put the right people around you and how to be successful. There's just so much more to racing as a whole. And while it can be tough, and especially in your position, I think you would also agree though. There's more times than not, the majority, the 51% at least, the community and the family of racing is amazing.
Yes.
Very rewarding. So, people, there's ups and downs. 2 weeks ago, we were at Cedar Lake, and the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Coming off a win.
Yeah, exactly. Coming off a win, and then, the final night, you got Trevor and Gordy both in the same race. The scenario is you got to finish in the top three. Gordy's second, Trevor's fourth. And, Trev's coming and you're thinking, and then Gord loses a motor. And, of course, then I go, oh. And then I realized, oh, my God, even though Trevor was right there for third and still could have raced his way in, that now Trevor's in because Gord lost a motor. So I'm like, my heart's breaking for Gord because we had a tough weekend with racing. Yeah. But I'm so excited for Trevor because he earned it and got his win. So yeah, it's very rewarding, but yet it is.
And the end of that too is both boys still ended up in the race because Gordy ended up gaining a provisional with that too. So both boys were still on the track, but it is, and like how many people showed up from how, and people talk about this in our world, but it's like, I think if society would watch the racing community, and when something goes wrong, no matter if you're rivals, no matter if you're the same company, like there's plenty of chiropractic offices, there's plenty of real estate offices, and at the same time, when something goes south, how many people are willing to come over and help no matter the scenario? That's the coolest thing about
in the race
the community.
Well, Brownstown when Trev got upside down.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally looked over there, and there was 20 people at the car just thrashing and thrashing. So, on one hand, they pull out there and they rough each other up and say, torque each other and say things. But at the end of the day, I don't know, the family in racing is, it's a family, and it really is. I mean, I mean, there's times I've been pissed at drivers for, something stupid on the racetrack. But then, the next week maybe they crash, but we're all over there.
Yeah.
Hey,
Helping
what do
them
you
regardless,
need?
right.
Do you need a tire? Or do you need a rear end? What do you need? Because, again, at the end of the day, we're all just a racing family. But I love it when you see things happen, even outside. Somebody needs help. A family member needs help. Maybe their home burnt down, or maybe they've got health issues.
Yeah.
Jeff Hoker's doing an incredible thing next weekend at Davenport with the toy drive that he does every year.
Yeah.
And that truck will be, but there's things like that people don't see, that they just see them put their helmets on and they think they're rough, but a lot of times they got the biggest hearts of all of us.
Absolutely.
They really do. But
You do a lot of drives and stuff like that, bike drives and power wheel races, and trying to give families the opportunity to do something. Yes, have great entertainment, but if I know you guys well enough, it's also just exposing them to cool things, great people, great environments. And just having a lot of fun in a genuine environment is a lot of what you get. So let's talk real quick too about, we talk about the track. And so for those of you that don't know, so you and Kev own TriCity Speedway in Granite City, Illinois, Pontoon Beach, Granite City, Illinois. And how long have you guys had that track?
19 years. It'll be 20 in January. 19 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But it's kind of crazy. When so Bobby Whitney that owned it, Kevin had raced her. That was his first race he ever won, when he was 15. He'd always kept saying, and of course, that's all I want to do. I mean, that's all I want to do. I'm like you guys, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Like Kevin would always say, geez, Tam, you want to race more than I do.
Yeah.
But that's all I've ever known. Yeah. And so when Bobby one time gave the opportunity, and he said, Kev, if I ever sell this, I want to sell it to somebody that's got the passion that I do. So it was really neat when we got the phone call, and he said, at that time I had a full-time job. So people have a very misunderstanding of, Gordy and I both have our real estate license, and I've worked my whole life since I was 14. And, I was into real estate, doing that heavily, had no intention of buying a racetrack, none, but it came about, and Kevin and his dad met Bobby and a couple times, and then in October, Bobby called, and he's like, hey, I think I'm really serious. So Kevin says to me, and I hadn't been there. So when we pull into a racetrack, not many of us go to the midway. We really don't. So I hadn't been on the midway in years. I just stuck in the race, in the pits. So Kevin leaves, and he said, "Oh, are you ready to own a racetrack?" And I go, just go to your meeting. And, when I go, it's not like you're going to buy it today. I still, to those words, to this day, is like, and I go, it's not like you're going to buy it today. Well, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
Came home. And he's like, well, you ready? I go, ready for what? He goes, we bought it. And you know me. Yeah. I can't say what I really said. And I was like, no. I mean, are you serious? He goes, no, they signed the papers. And we, now picture this. Signed the papers in October. We closed January 17th, I think it was. January 17th. Owners of, and we opened with a World Outlaw Sprint Car Show.
Oh,
yes.
How fun.
And I know nothing about, I can change shocks and springs and motors, and I can do all that, but I don't know anything about promoting. I really don't.
Yeah.
I didn't know order food.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
To this day,
Oh my
I
gosh,
laugh.
right.
To this day, I laugh. And but the greatest part about that night, when I tell you our whole family showed up, Kevin is the oldest of. He has 4 sisters. All their brother-in-laws. I mean, the whole family was there.
Yeah.
They were flipping burgers and fries. I mean, it was crazy. But 19 years. But I did say to him, and Ray and Sue Marler, this is funny. I don't know how long Ray and Sue have owned I-55, but I think at that time it was 20 years. I said to them, I said to Kevin, I said, well, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm okay like 10 years, but I don't want to be like Ray and Sue and own this for 25, 20 years, 30 years. There's other things I want to do in life, you know? So here I sat.
Yeah.
No, here we sat.
Yeah.
19 years from now going, oh my God, you know, what are we doing? But no, really, I could do this 7 days a week to this day.
So before I get into a fun topic.
Oh God.
No, I sarcastically
Erika,
say
you're supposed to
fun
give me a
topic.
cue
No,
card
we're
at
gonna
this point.
we're gonna blow some shit out
I'm
today.
waiting for the
We're
cue card to be
No,
like,
this is
next up.
raw. Yeah, we should turn the camera around. Like this is
No.
raw. Like this is no.
Next up.
So the other thing that I think is cool, and this is going to be an unapologetic pitch,
God.
is one, I want people here in listening and watching that see this, is you got to follow the social media. You got to follow TriCity
Yes.
Speedway.
It's
You've got to get
fabulous.
you got to follow Tammy and KG. Like they are great people. They will help anybody. You just picked up a dog for us 2 days
my
ago
gosh.
that was in need, and the things that you do I think go unnoticed. But before I jump into the fun part I was alluding to, I want people to know that there's a lot of kids that love cars, love race cars, love
Yes.
fast, and it's cool to see the relationships that you have and that you're leading us into, which we're appreciative for. But I will tell you guys, it is not uncommon, especially at these big shows, to see people like Kyle Larson, to see people like Ricky Stenhouse, to see people like Donnie Schatz, to see people like, there's so many in again, the community and how that acts is, you can see that those drivers are real. Like they don't have to be there.
No.
Like Kyle and Ricky and you know, well, Donnie is a sprint car racer, but they don't need to do as much of that anymore. And no matter if their parents know and followed sprint car racing, and now you have the Sheldon Hodden-Shields, you have Rico, you have, and even Gordy's a big name and marketable person, but it's not uncommon to see Chase Briscoe and Alex Bowman and like, so I encourage you guys, because the pits end up opening after, if those guys can hang around. You guys have the big show for the past couple of years. We've got the third year coming for the Cup Time in STL, and we do that. They come over and they dirt race, and Kyle Larson Sprint Car Series. It's like, you guys have an opportunity to see these guys up close and personal, where even if you don't get to meet them, I will be honest, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
But to see these families, to see Caitlin Larson in the infield and in the pits interacting with the drivers and being
With
a
the
part
kiddos
of,
and
seeing
everything.
Madison there,
Yeah.
meeting Madison and seeing how much they love being a part of the culture. You can see these guys' lives really at the heart unfold at a racetrack that we have 30 miles down the road, and you guys put on one hell of a show every weekend, whether it's weekly, whether it's, and here's the deal. I was pulling out. It was, I forget what show it was at the beginning of the year. We just got our motorhome. It was our first night out with the motorhome, and we're leaving. And I told Erika, I was like, I'm going back. Because they don't realize that KG will go out there by himself and pick up all of the trash on the outside of the racetrack.
Yeah.
We'll dump all of the things. And Tammy's in there counting and balancing the books and making sure that you know, what food's left over. What do we already have to order for the next race?
Making her own tickets.
There
and
is
cutting them
like
up and
this
numbering them.
This is work. It's effort, but it's driven by passion. So here's where I want to blow some things out. We're gonna get edgy, because here's what I want people to see. Is I'm sitting there and I can get emotional talking about this, because the passion that you guys have for it, and watching KG cut over 500 tickets on his own kitchen counter to make sure people had tickets and VIP tickets and picking up trash, like, it kills me, because what you guys have done this year has been a transition. You guys are doing big shows. The world has changed. The intention has changed. But you guys have two boys that you want to live through as well and be a part of. But you still do everything you can and want to do. But because you pivot. I want people to realize that there's a reason for that. This is not a selfish act. We all have kids and families. And so the big shows you have done this year, rain has been odd this year.
Oh,
it's been
tough.
odd. And, but even, collaborating with other tracks, the relationship you guys have with other tracks and what you do, and much like we do here, we collaborate with other people. We collaborate with PTs. We collaborate with orthos. Everybody wants to think it's a headbutt and every freaking thing's a contest.
Yeah.
And it's not. And for even last week's scenarios, it's like, I want people to really understand, and I think you're getting a good insight even on this, on who people are. And put yourself in their shoes a little bit, and instead of saying, why are you doing that? And I want to do this, and why aren't you running more? And why don't we do this? And why don't we? It's because you don't see the other side of the coin. And I'm not saying you have to put both feet in their shoes, but at least look through their lens for just a minute.
Yeah, and this year has been the toughest, and I think, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and people know that, but it was a tough decision on our part to do specials only. Josh Carroll opened up Brownstown this week, and people don't realize.
He's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and Josh is just a good promoter. He's again, just a good family person. He's got a background in racing. He gets both sides, and I think that's what has helped us is, Kevin being a racer and our family, we get both sides. So we try to see it from both perspectives, but, I think what frustrates me as an owner to the snide remarks and the texts and the emails, and again, I'm probably opening a can of worms, but Doc, you're opening my can of worms.
No.
Is, this is a give and take world, and this is our life. Yeah. This is how we make our business. We both have sacrificed because we wanted to. Yeah. But I think what some drivers don't understand is it's a business. Yeah. And it broke my heart because I know there's people that it's our weekly racetrack. Yeah. Right. I know that. Yeah. And people choose to race at their weekly racetrack. But our world has changed. The grassroots of racing has changed. Yeah. The affordability, and people can't afford to race 2 nights a week anymore. Before we had the Tri-Track Challenge, and it was 3 racetracks in a row. Well, the cost of racing and living has changed. People are more fickle about their money. Erika, like you have a family of 5. And it's hard for you to go to a race. We get torqued because 12 and under are free, or our back gate is 5 and under free, 6 through 12, where, again, I'm not knocking other racetracks. What you do at your track is your business, not mine. Right. But yet again, it's got to be affordable for families to go, or you're not going to go. And then we look up in the grandstands, and they're empty, and people are like, why? Well, Kevin and I always had the theory that I don't want people going to McDonald's and Burger King and all these places. We want them to be able to afford to come to the races. Yeah, our ticket prices increased. They have. Does it suck? You darn right it sucks. Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, pit passes are $40-$45. I cringe. I mean, we went to a race a month ago. Yeah. I won't say what it is because it's not my place to do that. But it was not a big purse, and it was $45 to get in, and Gordon came back, I need a check. So I wrote it, I said, I had kind of pre-wrote it out. And I was like, are you serious? It's $45. I was like, but it's hard on my part and Kevin's because we got to be in sync with everybody else. Yeah. And that sucks. But the cost of living is, or the cost of racing.
But you guys still do so much for families. Like, just seeing it from like the back end perspective, like, because we are very close with you guys now and everything, and like I hang out in the t-shirt trailer and I see what you guys do. I mean, you literally buy things just to hand to kids now. Like, you literally, like those light sticks and everything, and you're like, hey, come over here. Like, you have fun with them, you enjoy life, you do make it a really experience. Family thing. But like you just said, like, I have a family of 5, and then if we bring our 2 friends with us or something, and we're all wanting to get into the pits, the other weekend it was going to be like $700 for a day.
And here's the other thing that,
because some people aren't as nice as you. Like, you do have to pay for all the kids and everything, and they don't drop even the price for kids. I mean, so you guys are phenomenal at making it available to families.
I love that, because I think that's what we're totally missing, and you just kind of touched on it a little bit, like with Larson and Bowman and Stremme and Kenny Wallace and even Schrader and these guys like that, and again, I'm going to say it, that people think their shit don't stink. They think they're, and until you walk up and realize they are just, they put their helmet on and sure, they live a better life but they've earned it.
They've earned it.
Exactly.
And that's the part that irritates Kevin and I the most is that, Gordy and Trevor, I'll give you an example. And again, Doc, you're probably going to torque me on this.
You know what? No.
People are like, Trevor and Gordy are spoiled. Okay, I'm a mom. All of our kids are spoiled in some way.
Yes.
But they were both told, Kevin and I both have worked for a living. If you're going to race, you're going to earn it.
Yeah.
Sure, have there been doors open for them, but they earned it?
Yeah.
Do they get up and work on their own stuff? You're darn right they do. I mean, if they're going to race, they're going to wash their own car. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And boys, if you don't like it, then park it.
Well, and you do a really good job of making sure that they also continue their relationships with their sponsors.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's not just like they're getting handed to them because they're Trevor Gundaker. It's like no, they're going out there. They're making those personal connections. They're doing
that was
it.
KG's sponsor forever. They would have that one.
Right.
It's like
It's
no,
like,
they've
no.
continued the relationship.
And what I don't like these days is, back in our day, you visited companies, you talked to them, you shook their hands.
Right.
When you're driving through town, you stop by and take a minute, they're your sponsors and they're backing you for a reason.
Right.
And nowadays, drivers have totally lost that perspective of, like somebody said the other day, and I love this. They said on an interview, quit saying, and thank you to all my sponsors. Yeah, interviews take long on TV, but no, you need to thank though. You need to say, and guys, listen, guys, they're going to forget sponsors.
Right.
And believe me, it happens because when you've got, but again, how long does it take to say thank you to someone?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and now so I think our sport needs to get better at that. But then, and again, Doc, here it comes again. You like the Popeye today. You're opening this can of worms, and I just love it.
That's spinach.
But, spinach. Yeah, that's
Open
true.
this can of spinach.
But when we're at the driver's meeting and we say, hey guys, we got a bunch of kids coming down tonight. I want you to take time, and we're doing it Friday night. Complete Auto Body is our title sponsor, along with their associate companies that they've got. We're so proud to have Kurt and their whole organization there, and Pat Cummins helped us put this together. And we want them to come out Friday for the Gary Gershon Memorial and honor a great person, but also when these kids come by, how long does it take to take time for them?
Right.
When you see them little smiles in their faces, it's huge, you know, and I think we've lost part of that.
Yeah.
Never be too busy.
No, never be too
Never
busy.
be too busy.
And you said a good point too, and I remember my dad doing this when he was. I mean, I was still very young, but when we moved out here and he kept racing, we talked about this the other night.
Yeah.
He always had his suit on.
Really?
Like until the car was loaded up, and before we drove home, he always had his suit on.
Yeah.
Because they don't know who the driver is.
They have no idea.
They know the number. They know the car. I love the way that car looks. He's so fast, but they don't know who he or she is.
Right.
But he always had, but that's part of the experience for these kids too. And even some of the parents. I mean, there's more adults that are kid-like about it. It's like, oh my gosh, I finally met Trevor. I finally met Gord. I finally met whoever. But they can pick them out in the pit, and that's part of the experience. But taking the time for the kids and even the adults, it's like there's so many people that appreciate the competition and that do see, man, I bet that's a lot of hard work. But this is where I'm going to bring it full circle, and why I kind of wanted to open that is because I think I always want people to see through at least a different lens. And I think there's a lot of people, I'm not trying to change people's worldview, but I think there's a lot of people that can take from this, you know what, I had no idea, or you know what, let me look at what all they have done. And you know what, they are parents at the core of it, and they do have other things going on. But here's the other thing too, and this is why I encourage all the athletes that I see, and I've dripped on kind of Gordy and Trevor about this too in certain scenarios, anything like the world is full of people. Do not forget that we are all people. We don't always have to agree. We don't have to agree with tracks running 45 minutes or $45 for a pit pass, because, they have scenarios too. Because at the end of the day, there has to be drivers to be at the track for the track to go. That has changed immensely. And my schedule, I would love to race 8 days a week. The practice here, and the kids are never an excuse, but there's things we're learning that what do we really want to do? And we do want to race more, but my availability, because of what I do, I can commit to 2, maybe 3 weekends, and I'm trying to commit to 4. But there still has to be, not every, and old Herm says this, Kenny Wallace, don't count another man's money. Somebody else has said that before him, but don't count another man's money.
NASCAR money.
Yeah,
That's
NASCAR money. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of drivers that are blessed either to have a business or an income that provides them, like, we're racing, or they have great marketing partners and sponsors that they can go racing. And a lot of these guys that I think are speaking out that are very passionate because they want to race more. We want to race Tri-City more. Why aren't we racing more there? Why aren't we racing over at Macon? Why aren't we racing here? And they have that availability. But not only, let's take the spotlight off of you for a little bit. I'm going to change the perspective of, look at all of these other guys that, and I'm going to call some of them out, and I think they'll appreciate it. But look at some of the guys like myself, like
Your Facebook's gonna blow up.
like Jeb Simmons, in some of these guys that are racing, they love it, and that dynamic, that cost has changed, but we have to have drivers to be able to do that. So it's not always a promoter issue. It's like, how many cars can we reasonably fit and have in the pits? What can we expect? And that's changed a lot because of the driver perspective. We all want to race more, but what are we available to do? The other thing of this too, and I did this a few months ago, and I'm going to call somebody else out. This is good stuff though. A lot of people think, I know, a lot of people like to think the NASCAR money mentality.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, well they got this and he has that, and those rigs are ridiculous nowadays. $600 to $1.5 million toters
Right.
at least
Minimum.
pulling in, and some people are quick to be like, oh, I wish I had that, and it must be nice, and they have this.
Yeah.
I called Gordon Steffens one day. I'd reach out to Kyle randomly a few years ago before I started racing. Was very honest with him. I want to get into this. I see you're local. Didn't know who Kyle Steffens was. Great decorated racer. Somebody who KG also took underneath his wing.
Oh, yeah.
And has raced a lot, and very talented, and still doing well, and races all kinds of different classes. And G and I had kicked off a relationship too, but through that I start racing, and Kyle was racing more away, and I wasn't able to be there as much for Kyle, and started my racing too. And finally, it was about a year and a half after that, I set Gordon down, and the first thing I said, I said, let's go to lunch. He goes, okay. So we went to Old Hickory, we had lunch, and I sat him down. I said, you're probably wondering why the hell I have you here. And he goes, yeah, a little bit. What's up, doctor? And I said,
Everything's doctor.
yeah, doctor, hey. I was like, oh, yeah. What's up, doctor? And I said, here's the deal, Gordon. I'm going to shoot you straight. I said, there's some people that look and say, oh, it must be nice to have all that. And there's some people like me that want to figure out how you got there. Help me.
Yeah.
Do that. People are willing to help.
They are.
You are willing to help.
Yeah.
There's people out there that you can get advice from. If you need to make more money, figure out how they did it. If you need more marketing partnerships, how did they do that? I asked you that the other day. What do they want to hear anymore? I have great marketing partners and sponsors now, with Ace and Van K Wheels and Cope Tech IT, who does our IT here, and Dave McLean, who builds my motors, and
Dogs on Duty.
Trevor Atwell, all the way in North Carolina, that sponsors.
I gotta say, Trevor Atwell is one of the, he sponsors a lot of race teams, but boy, you talk about come from the heart.
Yeah.
I mean, all he wants to do is help people, and I don't think people realize. I mean, even like you guys, you've been in racing how long now, Doc? How long?
Well,
5?
my life, 36 years, but I've been racing. This was year 4
Yeah.
in the seat.
I think people don't realize that even though we're competitive, the whole thing is we need people at racetracks. We need cars on the racetrack. So, and you've seen this before. There might be a guy that's loaded up at Tri-City one night, and let's say he broke in hot laps. And then, they get ready, and somebody will say, they'll come up to the line of board, and they'll be like, hey, Doc's out. And I would say to that person, what's wrong? Well, I broke a drive shaft. Well, let's find one.
Yeah.
And they look at me like, what do you mean, let's find one? No, there's somebody in this pit that I know is willing to help. And they're like, one guy said to me, I'll never forget it. And he said, yeah, but I'm not that good. They don't really like me. I go,
Yeah.
stop thinking that way.
Yeah.
So you get on the PA and you go, hey, you know, the so-and-so car is looking for a drive shaft. Guys, if you can help, go to his car, you know, or come up here, line up board. Guess what? 10 minutes later,
Found him a drive
the
shaft.
guy's at the lineup board. And he's like, oh my God, I got to drive. I mean, so, you know.
We had a scenario like that last year, Be My Bash. Dustin threw 2 belts.
Yeah.
And like he runs a belt that more than most drivers don't run. And I
Yeah.
mean, we had belts coming out our ass.
Yeah.
They were people
We had
bringing
coffee
us
cans
belts.
full of belts.
People were bringing us belts left and right just so that we could try them. They were like, I don't know if this is going to fit, but here, take it.
Yeah.
It was so fun to see, so cool to see, because again, at that point, like, I mean, Doc is a little bit more like not well known, but like now he's recognizing the pits, which is really cool to see. And like people talk to him, they'll stop and whatnot. But like at that point, really, I mean, he was still just another driver.
Yeah.
And to see the entire pit area come together and just throw belts at us so that he could get back out on the track was incredible.
Well, and I mean, I've had people like, you know, Bert Jacoby, Bert and Treb have helped a ton. Matt Edler's helped a ton. Kyle, you know, Kyle
Matt's
Steffens
dad.
and Gordon Steffens have helped a ton. KG and you guys have helped a ton. And it's like, and I'm okay. And I've always asked for help. I haven't been afraid to ask for help. But it's those scenarios. If you don't have what you think you need, or you're not in a position to have what you want in anything in life, just ask. Don't assume that you're not good enough. Don't assume that they are such a way. Don't assume you can't, because at the end of the day, this world is filled with people.
That should be a title.
Yeah. Don't let somebody else's story be a chapter in your book.
Yep, we say that all
And
the
start to
time.
build your own chapter. But at the end of the day, the world is full of people, and people by nature want community. And with community, you can find whatever it is you need to help. And if you don't understand something, ask. Hey, let me understand why you did this. Let me understand why you scheduled a race this weekend. Let me understand, because there might be perspective there.
Oh, yeah. Probably the hardest thing that Kevin and I go through that to this day still just irritates me is this word favoritism. But they have to remember, Kevin and I both come from racing backgrounds. So a guy doesn't work his butt off all week to show up and not race.
Right.
You know, and so people will be like, when you're trying to help them, or you just are trying to think outside the box to see what you can do. Because I don't want somebody to work hard and spend their money and then show up at the racetrack and break. It's like, why wouldn't you? But at first, Kevin and I were kind of not afraid, because you know me, I'm not afraid of anything, is to reach out and help drivers. But now I look at it like this, because it was like, hey, you're over at Doc's car, like, you know, you're giving secrets or you're cheating. No, we're not. I would do it for, and so, you know, like 4-cylinder street stock drivers, they'll walk up, and I hate the word support class or we're not good enough. No, here's the way I've always said it. You know, I don't care if you're Scott Bloomquist, I don't care if you're, and again, I'll just, Joey Laws, 4-cylinder driver, whoever you are, you're not just a 4-cylinder. You're not just a street stock.
Yeah.
We all put our pants on. I hate that cliche. And people, oh, yes, we do. And you worked your butt off all week.
Right.
You go to work. You feed your family.
You get
so
your car
maybe you're a
ready.
big late model team, but you're just as important to Kevin and I. And people will be like, sometimes you'll be like, well, you know, 4-cylinders park on this side. Well, they like to. You know what I mean?
Right.
But just because, you know, you're a 4-cylinder doesn't mean, or a street stock driver or B-mod, you're not as important to Kevin and I as everybody else. But we have to run a fine line, because if I walk over and we try to talk to everybody and just, you know, say hi or thanks for being here or whatever, it's, you know, are they playing favoritism?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
You can call Kevin and I tomorrow if the track's ready. And I've done this, and I'm not an I person, where a guy broke the weekend before. Let's just take, well, I'll tell you, Ricky Frankel was struggling here. I think Ricky broke a motor. And I know they need laps. I know they want to shake that thing down. And I'll reach out to them. And I'll say, and Doc, not just calling you out, but I think I did it to you one time before I really knew you. And if we can help a driver get back on the racetrack, come over and make some laps. You know, if you need 10 laps, hey, I'm going to, and no, I'm not telling everybody where the key is. Listen, if we're off racing, come over, I'll tell you where the key is. Go out there and make some laps. Shake your car down. If it puts your butt back on the racetrack and helps you, then go do it. Just, and people sometimes I think, I'm just going to say it. I can't believe you're making me say this stuff.
No,
I think people go.
You'll see.
Kevin
We're definitely
and
holding
Tammy
a gun.
think their shit don't stink.
Yeah.
Like they think they're better at this. No, we're not. But we're here to keep our business open, to keep you on the racetrack. Whatever we can do to keep every racetrack open, we need to do. And people are like, oh, you promoters argue all the time. You do this or that. Yeah. Do we disagree? Hell yeah, we do. We all do. Do we cross over sometimes? Sure we do. But at the end of the day, we all need every racetrack open.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and let me
people
just,
realize
and I'll shift the perspective into the ultra positive, and what I want people really to think of this, because, and I appreciate you sharing that, because at the end of the day, what I want everybody to hear is you're helping people.
Yeah.
You don't have to own the racetrack. You do it because you love it. You're not letting them come out and shake their car down because you want them on the track because you want their pit pass money.
Right.
It takes that to make the world go round, but at the end of the day, you're serving people.
Right.
And you're giving their families something to do on the weekends. You're giving my boys the ability to see, I'm proud of dad. I'll look at him work, look at him fix, look at who I'm meeting, look at the relationships I have access to. You guys, Tony Stewart does not need to own Eldora. Why does he own Eldora?
He does it because he loves it. And people they have a really wrong perspective of Tony Stewart. And I got to tell you.
Why did Nick's sister buy Millbridge? Why,
if you haven't been to Millbridge, I mean, if you look at Ashley and Jeremy, you're right. And I love that you just said that because, when we started, when we first met them, they're one of the hardest two people I've ever met in my life. And Ashley really takes a lot of shit. But she'll laugh when I say this. Her and I are so much alike, and Jeremy or Kevin are so much alike. They're both very laid back, quiet. Ashley and I are put it out there, go, go, go.
Yeah.
But man, if you've ever met two other people like Kevin and I that work for a sport they love, and boy, they get torqued a lot too. But I think the people that get torqued a lot are the ones that go above and beyond because they love what they do. So it's people are like, oh, you're showboating. Why are you doing this? Because I want to.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
You have a lake house. I have a race car.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
you've got a place in Naples. I've got a.
Yeah. Could I own a mansion? Maybe, yeah. Kevin won't. But I'm laughing. It's not me though. Do I want to put every dollar I make in what I call our family? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle and Brad didn't have to start the High Limit series. They don't need to do that. It's all from passion. And so for you to be willing to open up the track or to find them help, and it's like, so I want people to realize
help
the
at other
frustration.
tracks.
This isn't an event session of like, you guys need to get your shit together. Right. This is like, let me help provide some perspective, because it's what I'm passionate about, is because at the end of the day, I don't like the spotlight. I don't like, my brother loves it. My brother will stand in it, and he's great in that space. I don't need that. But what I do see is I have a big heart. I have never, I'm competitive. I've never trash talked like, oh, I'm going to whip your ass. Like this curveball is going to get you. Like I don't try. I'm not, but I always want people to have an opportunity. I want people to, if they want the spotlight, great. If they don't want to be, but I want people to have the opportunity and feel like they belong in a community, and there's sectors of the community, but I want them to know that it's available and what's actually out there and who drives that and what the intention is and how that community is built. And I think there's misconceptions everywhere. So if I can be a little ripple of and a lot of people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's freaking stupid. Like this guy's just going off. But there's gonna be a few people watching this that it's going to be like, you know what? I could almost bet the farm. I'm going to bet Gordy's new Longhorn right now because I think I need to. No, I'm just kidding. Trevor's new one of whatever he decides he's going to get. I'm going to no. Yeah, but I could bet the farm on this that you're going to get a phone call because of this when this comes out that says, you know what, that was awesome, and you're going to get questions. The right kind of questions that you've probably wanted to hear. And when are you running next? How can I help you, Tammy, is what you're going to hear.
I've actually avoided this. Erika has reached out to me several times because, I'm
podcast.
I'm
She's
very
tried
well
to get out of
known.
it many times.
Yeah. I'm very well known for, I say what's on my mind. And sometimes my foot goes in my mouth. I know it does. Yeah. But I always believe you have to be yourself. You have to say what's on your mind. Yep. But if you believe in something like that, you and Erika have built this and you believed in it, and look at the level it's at right now and where it's going. We're excited. That's down the road a little bit. But if you believe in what you're doing, but I think you have to have a passion. I say to this day, money's great, we all know it.
Yeah.
But how many people get up every day and go to work
Yeah.
and hate what they do? And I don't want to be that person. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it right. I want to give back. You know, I don't know, when you just see the smile on people's faces and the kids, or you've helped a driver and the dad walks up to you that night and says to you, you know, my kid came out of his shell.
Yeah.
He, you know, he was, he just a whole different person. You know, that's what this is about. And I'm not, it's not a cliche. It's not, until I think you get to know Kevin and I and our family.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I don't know. I mean, I love what I do. And
Well,
I don't think I'm better
We
than
love what you
anybody.
do.
yeah.
We love what you
And
do.
look what we've formed. I mean, like the friendships that we've gotten, and there's a sign, and everybody sees it. It says the greatest friendships are the ones that we've got or we've developed at a racetrack, or
Yep.
we've got at a racetrack. But honestly, we all went to Fairbury together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we
that
had
was
a
so
blast.
fun.
But-
It was.
So Kevin and I have tried to shy away from being friends with racers because we went through that favoritism thing, and now I'm over it. I'm like, you know what? If I want to invite Doc and Erika over to swim, or everybody knows we're great friends with Jacoby's and Matt, my home is welcome to everybody. If you want to come play
The
volleyball,
go-kart
wiffle ball,
races.
I tell people that's
The
about in the
wiffle
practice. We're
Let's
here.
go.
We're here for anybody. We're not for everybody.
No, we're definitely not for everybody. But
No, it's
yeah, so,
good. There's a lot of cool
it's
things.
good.
There's a lot of cool things coming, like you said. I mean, there's going to be a part 2. We will get KG in the room.
Yeah, because we didn't even get to touch on the quarter midget track or anything like that either,
We'll
and
do
like
it.
what you guys do for that community. And but I also want to encourage everybody that's listening, because I know a lot of our listeners aren't dirt track people, but I wasn't either when I was growing up. We never went to the track. We never did anything. I don't have a race background. I danced. That's all I knew. And my first date, one of my very first dates with Dustin was actually to a World of Outlaws sprint car race at Peevely. And I did not know what I was getting myself into.
She called them
but
push to
from-
starts.
Yep,
Did she-
I called them my push
she
to
wear
starts.
white?
I don't remember.
I don't think so, because I
really,
think you warned
don't
me.
remember what your wife wore? Y'all don't need the backstory.
There
was in-
there was race cars.
I was in my boots.
Yeah.
I was in my cowboy boots, jeans, and a t-shirt, and
Were you fit in already then? Yeah.
I didn't know what I
Yep.
was getting into, but we went down to see Mark Brevard, to get his pit passes so that we could go to this race, because he was helping Dustin out. Like, my dad had made an ask to Brevard, who then got in touch with Dustin and whatnot. And I fell in love with it. The minute I got to experience the track, the family, the just
it now.
community,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
it immediately just brought me in. And I just think it's something that every family should experience at least once. Get yourself to a race. Get yourself to TriCity. The amount of family and fun and just enjoyability
I'm glad
in
you
it
said
is
that too, because there's a
fantastic.
lot of families in this area that like to camp.
Yes.
Pick,
Just make a weekend of it.
ask
Yes.
us, and take the 3-hour trek to Fairbury and go camp, because the environment afterwards is awesome.
So
Oh, it's
fun.
If you
The
like to camp, you
concerts,
need
the
to camp at a
hangouts.
racetrack. You don't just have to go for a night. Like, I also encourage you to make a weekend of it. Fill the cooler full of beer.
Yeah.
Get your barbecue stuff. Take your
the
kids. Take your motor home.
forget the
Help.
Little moonshine.
Ask
Yeah.
us. Sometimes you need to book your spots early if you want campsites.
Yeah.
But go to Fairbury, go to Moberly, go to Peevely, go to go wherever. Definitely go to TriCity.
Brownstown, Highland.
Brownstown,
you guys,
Highland.
There's so much great racing
Yes,
in our
within this
community.
lake-
right?
Quincy,
Lake of the Ozarks.
Peoria, Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
So we will do a part 2. We're being waved down. People are hungry, but I don't care. We can talk.
No. You said if I did this, we'd go to lunch. So
Yes,
I want
we're
Bush
going
Light and chicken wings.
Here we go. We're going to get Bush Light and chicken
We're gonna get
wings.
Bush Light and chicken wings.
See ya.
See ya.